Well, hello, Tea Timers. Welcome to everybody this evening. Welcome to the Renewal Center's Tea Time Tuesday. We want to say welcome to everyone for the first special tea time. Well, actually, the first tea time that we're going to be having for the year 2026. And we are glad to see you. We are glad that you are here with us this evening. And first of all, we want to say, go ahead and bring your tea. We invite you to invite others, share this broadcast. We're excited about the year of 2026. We ask that you would invite others to join in with us for a time of pause, reset, and building resilience. Hello over there, Patrick. I'm excited. This is 2026, our first Tea Time Tuesday for the year.
It is. Yes, it is. I'm excited to be here with you, Carmela. Thank you so much. Welcome, everybody. Hello, Tea Timers. How y'all doing?
Yes, hello. I'm a tea timer, too.
Yes. Grab y'all journals, folks. Yep.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And we are excited. I'm going to go ahead and just open us up for the top of the year. We're going to open up with our tea of the week for the Renewal Center. Hello, Monique. Hello, Nita. It's good to see everybody. All our tea timers are right here. Hello, Charlisa, crushing Chimoche. It's good to see everybody. All right. Yes, go ahead and share the broadcast with everybody. Invite your friends. This is going to be great. We're going to be talking about reordering lifetime and focusing for the new year. That's going to be our topic in our renewal practice tonight. So get ready. Renewal before results. Reordering life, time, and focus for the new year. So this is going to bring us into a new place of focusing, being razor focused, and that's what we need. So let's go ahead and start off with our tea of the week here at the Renewal Center. It is apple tea. And I love this because apple tea, this is a particular tea that you can make with apples, actually. So you got your apple peels, your cinnamon, all of your spices, your star anise, ginger, honey, and lemon. Go ahead and brew it up all together. If you want to add in some other like black tea or white tea or green tea, you can do that. But this is a wonderful soothing tea, a refreshing drink to start off at the top of the year. So what are your tea? What's your tea of choice tonight? Go ahead and put it in the chat. We'd love to hear it. And while you're doing that, hello, Hope. It's good to see you too tonight. Good evening. Good evening, Sharon. All right. We got everybody on board tonight. Good. It's good to see everybody. It's not too late to share the broadcast. Go ahead and share so we can get everybody else to join in with us tonight. And so while we're doing that, how about some time of calm? Most of us have been running around today, and now we're settled in for the evening, and we'd like to take our time for a renewal practice. And before we do that, let's locate ourselves like we always do. So if you're new to the Renewal Center Tea Time Tuesday, this is the time that you take time to just relax your shoulders. And this is a reward, actually. You get to reward yourself with calm, right, Patrick?
That's right. Might as well.
You get to reward yourself. That's right. So let's take a time, look at the video, do some deep breathing, and just relax yourself. All right. Thank you for taking that time. And so I'm looking forward to this conversation. What tea of choice are you drinking out there? Go ahead and put it in the chat. We'd love to hear it. Hibiscus tea. Thank you, Hope. That's a refreshing tea. Tangerine orange. Oh, wow. Okay. And water. This is good. This is good. Yes, good evening, Dr. Brown. It's good to see you tonight. Moringa tea. That's great. This is good. Okay, so we're off to a good start. We got our tea, we have our tea time journal. And so I'm going to turn this over to Patrick, our executive director, and we're going to enjoy some dialogue tonight about reordering our life. So thank you, Patrick.
Thank you, Carmela. Hello, everybody. Please grab your journals, grab your tea, your water. We're going to engage, as Carmela shared with us, renewal before results, reordering life, time, and focus for the new year. So please go ahead and share this with others because our focus today for our renewal practice is to kick off our year about renewal before results. So let's get all the likes up, if you will. Get the likes up, give us a thumbs up, give us the likes, and share this with others so we can engage more people as we engage our renewal practices for this evening. So my focus, again, as I shared, is about renewal before results. And so, well, why are we focusing on that? Well, because many times we start the year off focusing on what we want to achieve. The emphasis becomes things that we do, and sometimes we start off with ambition when I'd like us to consider attention and alignment. Attention and alignment. And many times it's because our ambition supersedes our attention or our intention. So this evening, we're not going to focus on what I will produce or asking the question, what will I produce this year? Carmela, we're going to focus on a deeper question, which is what must be reordered? Mm-hmm. What must be reordered? So we set the tone already. We've slowed ourselves down. We've created a space. So as we step into this new year, a lot of times our conversations rush into outcomes, rush into productivity. But renewal begins someplace a little bit quieter. And it really takes a real honest look, Carmela, at how we're living and what we're giving our attention to. And are we really aligned with what we say we believe? And so I want us to emphasize questions like, what feels out of alignment or as I enter into this year. So our first renewal practice, everybody, I want you to type in the comments, reorder. That's our first focus, renewal through reorder. Now, what does this have to do with pause, resetting, and build resilience? Well, this really is all three in one. We're pausing to really take a look at our own selves for awareness purposes and accountability. And then we're also going to reset by asking ourselves questions today regarding what needs to be reordered. So our first renewal practice is really about what needs to be reordered. And Carmela, I'm going to share a few ideas this evening with us. And then I'd like us to think about and respond to these renewal practices as we normally do. And the first key idea concerning reorder is this. Renewal starts with structure, not speed. Renewal starts with structure, not speed. Everybody put reorder in the comments. It starts with structure, not speed. Good to see everybody. Got more folks coming in. Water with a drop of lemon. All right. Thank you so much. What's your tea of choice, folks? All right. Michelle, good evening to you. All right. Reorder. Everybody put reorder in the comments. There it is. Found favor. Hello. Good evening. Reorder. That's absolutely right. Reorder. That's what we're going to focus on today. That's the first. Hello, Darlene. Good to see you. Reorder as well. Thank you so much. So we're going to emphasize that when we think about the first renewal practice for the year, Carmela, it's about renewal starts with structure, not with speed. And I want everybody to think about that. And the reason why is because many times busyness masquerades as productivity. Mm-hmm. And there's a cost for having a calendar, but many times busyness will masquerade as productivity. So I want us to consider, as we have already set the tone, we've slowed down as we normally do, we've created the space as we normally do at our tea time, but our key idea today is renewal starts with structure, not with speed under reorder. So Carmela, I want you to think about that. And tea timers, I want you to consider as a prompt this evening, what perhaps was out of alignment or wasn't in order that you're now reordering? What's perhaps was out of alignment or out of order that you're now reordering as you move into the new year? Again, we're not talking about a bunch of outcomes and a bunch of productivity. Where this renewal practice is about pausing and starting with structure and not speed. Carmela, any thoughts on that key idea relating to how renewal starts with structure, not necessarily with speed?
Absolutely. Because first of all, I like that you said reorder, which means that there was a sequence of things going on, whatever goals you had or whatever you were doing. And sometimes going into a new season, I know I can attest for myself, sometimes reordering means that I have some things that might need to be, like you said, kind of alignment, but realigned, put into the right perspective for this season. What fits and what doesn't fit. You still have your vision, you still have the direction where you're going, but alignment means that everything is in order in the sequence that it needs to be for that season. And so for me, I like that word structure because we can launch out and do different things. I know it's easy for us to race to the goal, but strategy may be different. Order of sequence might be different. Order of importance might be different. What worked last season may not be what you need to have for this particular season. So rushing off to continue in the same vein that you were doing last year or last season, per se, may not fit in this new season. So I like the fact that we are reordering things. I like zeroing in on what's important.
Thank you. That's right. And also when we think about reordering, many times we think that it's about speed, but it's not about structure. And so I want to encourage everyone as you enter your January and as you think about your personal renewal practices for the year, renewals are going to start with the structure that you have, not the speed that you have in your life. Otherwise, busyness will masquerade as productivity and you're really busy. You know, Carmel, I remember going to the different stores growing up and getting on the horse, and you just go in there, you put a little penny in there and
not going
you
anywhere.
Think you're going somewhere. You're not going anywhere. You're just just exerting a lot of energy, but no productivity, no real advancement. I remember we had one at the house, Bachman Circle. It rode it all the way down the stairs. It wasn't supposed to move like that, but we made it move. So, boy, the stuff we used to do. But here's the thing that I want to encourage everyone. When you have structure, and the emphasis is on that, you reorder your time as energy. You reorder your time as energy. Again, we're dispensing energy right now. And energy just simply changes form. So many times what we end up doing is we either spend the energy wisely, we invest it wisely, we use it wisely, we conserve it. And so we have to reorder our time as energy, okay, what we're expending. So I want you to ask yourselves these questions as you're pondering our conversation today and considering a renewal practice. There's two questions I want you to answer this evening in your journaling, in your reflections for January. The first one is, what commitments need to be pruned? What commitments need to be pruned? What do you mean, Patrick? About getting things done. Well, what feels out of alignment? So when we reorder, it's important to ask ourselves the question, what commitments need to be pruned? Am I not seeing the results because I don't have a structure? Maybe I need to pause and stop so that I can build a structure to be able to help me be renewed, because again, it starts with structure, not speed. And then the second question I want us to consider is, where has urgency replaced intention? Where has urgency replaced intention? So we need to think through this. It's important because when we don't look at the commitments, perhaps that it's like a wild bush that is just out of control, and we haven't really focused on what needs to be pruned. What are your thoughts, Camilla, on those two questions? And also, T-timers, what are your thoughts today on renewal starts with structure and not speed? So we got two questions. What commitments need to be pruned? And where has urgency replaced intention? And again, friends, this is all about reordering. Thoughts on that, Carmel?
Yes, actually, I like the fact that we're starting off with questions. Um, I think when we're starting off with questions, we're zeroing in to see what's important for this particular season. And the first question, what commitments need to be pruned? And then where has urgency replaced attention? And so when we're looking at that and we're asking ourselves these questions, these are important reflections to where we are, what needs to be not reorganized, but when you talk about pruning, well, maybe there's some things I have to like eliminate. This may need to kind of fall off, and I might need to incorporate this. And sometimes we may have done a lot of this, and maybe in this new season have to chip away to see if this is really what's necessary or prudent for what we're doing. And then where has urgency replaced intention? And so sometimes, thinking about time management, time utilization, sometimes we can get stuck in what's, urgent and what's just overly important. And it may not necessarily be. It just may be something that we deem to be as urgent, but it may not be. So I think it's about analysis and analyzing, okay, so what really is important, what is urgent, what's not really important, what's not urgent, and really look at where are we so that we can consolidate time.
Camilla will be back on. She was in the middle of her analysis or her response to those two questions. So she'll come back on here in a minute. Again, it's about what commitments need to be pruned and where has urgency replace intention. Again, those are the two questions that we want to make sure that we're asked. Okay, so let's take our time with this, and I want us to consider also when we think about urgency. Yeah, those are the two questions that we want to make sure that we're asked. Okay, so let's take our time with this, and I want us to consider also when we think about place urgency. Yeah, those are the two questions that we want to make sure that we're asked. Okay, so let's take. Okay, there we go. You good? Can you hear me? T-Timers, give us a thumb up. Let us know that we're still on. Let's double check here. Let me make sure we're still online. I think we are. Let's double check here, sis. I'm not looking at it. Okay, I think we're getting some answers come in. Yes. Okay. All right. Thank you. Camilla, are you there? Can you?
I can hear you, but not see you.
Oh, okay.
I can hear you, but I can't see you.
Okay, I can see you. Let's keep rolling. You were talking about, so the last part we talked about is what commitments need to be pruned and where has urgency replaced intention, and then your camera went off. So we wanted to make sure you got back on. So we can see you, but you just can't see me. But let's keep rolling. I think everybody can see us. So let's think about this also. When we think about the reordering is also about restoring priority, not adding activity. Restoring priority, not necessarily adding activity. So that is under reorder. When we think about renewing, we want to ensure that we focus on reordering is about restoring priority. It's not about adding additional activity. And so that's the challenge that we have many times, is that we end up focusing specifically more on adding more activity to our lives without looking at how we restore priority. So it's important that we emphasize what it is to restore priority, not just adding activity to the work that we do. All right, so let's go to the next practice here. So we talked through renewal through reordering. The next one is about focusing on more about releasing things. What do we need to release? So everybody type in the comments, release. So the first one was reorder. The second renewal practice is release. So we've got reorder. Now we having release. in the area of release, this is about how when we're in release, this is when we learn how to let things go without being guilty. Learning how to let things go without being guilty. Now, that means things like what? Expired roles, unproductive connections, false responsibilities, false narratives. The second thing we want to do is emphasize release. First was reorder. The second one is release. Letting go without guilt. Now, Carmela, I want to hear your thoughts on this. You know, when we think about letting go, you know, wow. Sometimes clarity, Carmela, looks like loss, but really what it is you start recognizing you're preserving yourself.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
When you think about this release as part of this whole process of really reinventing who we are, what are your thoughts on that as far as release as part of reordering our lives before results? Thoughts on that?
Yeah. I'm in the middle of that as we speak. There's a lot of things that I have to restructure. I have to do some introspection. What is it that I need? Well, first of all, what is it that I need right now? What am I doing? It's almost like something that I said years ago. You can go outside in the middle of a summer, but you can be out of dressed by wearing a sweater. It is not the season for that. Or you can be right in the middle of the winter and you shortchange yourself by not wearing a coat. It just does not fit. And so some things is, necessary endings. Oh God. You're talking about, releasing things without feeling guilty. Sometimes there's necessary endings to certain things. And then now you're in the middle of starting up something new. You're discovering something new, or you're embarking on something new. And sometimes that navigation may take you in a different route. It may take you in a different place. And so sometimes we have to adjust our sails and adjust, I would say, our directions and directives as to what we need to do now, and not feel like, oh gosh, if I do that, then holding on to so much is gonna drag you down or weigh you down, and you're not gonna to gain the momentum that you need. And so some things you have to just release so that you can move into something greater.
Good stuff. I want to ask the tea timers, what are you reordering and what are you releasing? Those are our questions as well. You don't have to answer those now. If you like to, feel free to place them in the comments. But I think as part of your focus, you got to release. There's got to be reordering and then releasing, because reordering, again, is about structure. Renewal is about structure, not necessarily speed. We emphasize speed so much that we're saturated, Carmela, with just speed. Now, we want it right now. Right? Just immediately. And so we end up focusing on the speed that we miss the structure. Maybe some of us in our businesses, we need to strengthen our systems. We need to strengthen our infrastructures. And maybe in that reordering of our structure, then we can concentrate on what we need to release. Now, here's a sub-question of reflection for this one when we think about release. And I wrote down something very interesting today. And here's what I want to hone in on this in this section, which is, who benefits if I remain distracted, stagnant, or overextended? Who benefits if I remain distracted, stagnant, or overextended? Especially for those perfectionists out there or people pleaser mindsets. Who benefits if I remain distracted, if I remain stagnant, or overextended? That's a real, honest, reflective question.
And it's a real question.
Today we're moving from awareness to accountability. We're not just going to be aware. We're going to now be accountable to say, I've got to make some changes by reordering and then releasing. What are your thoughts on that, Carmela, as you think about that question? Who benefits from if I remain if I remain in a place of distraction or in a place of stagnant or being overextended?
Well, I think in actuality, no one really benefits. I mean, if you're doing things because, like you said, you want to please, you have this, we
Mhm.
have the need to please. Well, of course, people are going to get what they need, or whatever task is going to get all the maximum, I would say, energy out of you. But then at the same time, you're not growing, you're not progressing, you're overextending, you're giving out of an empty pot. You're pouring out of an empty pot, and that's not. We go back to accountability. How are we holding ourselves accountable? We have to have some parameters. I'm thinking about that song, everything, change, we're ever evolving. So if we say we're ever revolving, there are some things that we have to release. There's some things that we have to take on, and there's some things that we have to release. I'm talking to myself today. Because
Yeah, good.
It's the truth. You have to, because if you're going to grow, everything has to evolve in some way, and trying to be in the same vein over and over again and trying to grow into in a new way, trying to please, you're going to overextend and nobody's going to benefit in the end, really.
Yeah, absolutely. That's good reflections here. Reorder, clarify what comes first. Release, letting go without guilt. Okay, the third R, we're doing through some R's, excuse me, is realign. Now, realign, type in the comments, realign. Now, before we go into realign, part of this also means what particular aspects of life do you really need to release? Like, what are you holding on out of habit? You're doing it out of habit, but rather than out of conviction. Would you gain something if you stopped carrying what was never assigned to you? Yes, you would. You gain your time and energy back. That's one. So let's think about release. Let's think about realign. Let's consider how the fact that in the world that we are living in right now, there's a difference between being busy and being productive. It's just that there's a cultural addiction to activity.
Wow.
So when we think about realigning, that is making sure that we recognize that productivity is measured by impact, not by volume of activity. So let's ensure when we think about releasing and we move into realigning, it is being our productivity is measured by the impact, not necessarily the volume of our activity. Because when you realign, you focus on the focus is restored and presence is restored. So we're gonna do a little activity, everybody. I want everybody to write down 3 things you do that often produces little fruit. 3 things you do that often produce little fruit. Now, again, this is awareness and accountability. So I want you to write that down. Invite a few things down. Here's 3 things that I do that often produce a little fruit in my life. Let's think about that. Again, folks, we're on realign. What are you reordering? What are you releasing? What do you need to realign? All right. So I want you to write down 3 things that you do that you often do that really produces little fruit. Think about that. And let that be at top of mind right now. And then I want you to write down 1 thing you can avoid that would actually move the needle in your life. All right. If you want to put those in the comments, that's fine. But this is something as a prompt for you as you're working on your own development, your own, I would say, self-reflections or your awareness and moving you into accountability is when you're realigning, you're removing yourself from this cultural addiction to activity. And you're making sure that your productivity is measured by impact, not by volume. And when you realign, it restores focus and it restores presence. Any thoughts, Carmelo, on just realigning and this cultural addiction to activity and all that? Any thoughts?
First thing that came to my mind was doing more with less, and being effective and efficient. We can be more effective and efficient in our lives. I mean, in our whatever what we're doing more with less.
So what do we need to protect in order to finish well? What do we need to protect? And I'm not talking about necessarily peace. What areas of our lives do we need to protect?
That's good.
Am I just being busy, or am I being productive? So that's why I wanted us to think about 3 things we do that often produce little fruit. Now, y'all, I'm working this out too. So this is not me telling you. I'm inviting you into my space, right? Because I'm thinking, okay, what are some of the things that I do that produce little fruit, and things I need to avoid that perhaps if I avoid it would move the needle if I simply avoided this, or 3 things that I do that and once you do that, that helps you go back and say, I can eliminate this. I can realign it. Or that's activity. That's not productivity. You begin to notice the difference in your life when you focus on those areas. All right. So we got through realign. I want us to move to the next one. We got 2 more. So we've talked through the renewal practice of reordering, of clarifying what comes first. Reordering, which is letting go without any guilt. Realigning is about returning to purpose, which that helps you with focus and peace and direction. And you start working with impact, not necessarily just volume. Not only that, what happens in realignment, your relationships are aligned to vision, not just activity. So you're not whimsical. You're not whimsical even in those areas. So even your friendships, your relationships, your connections become aligned.
Right.
And when things are aligned, they're alive because they're aligned to your values and vision as well. So I want us to think about that and ask ourselves questions of where have I drifted? What would be different in my life if I realign? And also, what does realignment require, me to say no to? Perhaps there's some things I now need to say no to in order for me to realign. All right. So number 4, I want to stay on realignment, but I know we got to go. All right. So the next one is refine, everybody. Put in the comments, refine. Refine. What are we refining? So we've gone through reorder. We've gone through release. We've gone through realign. And now let's think through refining. Now, this is, Carmela, when we refine, and again, folks, this is about renewal before results. That's the whole focus of our Tea Time Tuesday today. How we reorder our life, our time, our focus for the new year. Refining is about choosing depth over display. When we refine, we choose depth over display. And all this is renewal. All this is rooted in renewal. So when we choose depth over display, this is about building what lasts. We're choosing to measure fruit, not the noise of life.
Yes. Yes.
Am I more concerned about being seen or being effective?
That's right.
What looks impressive but produces little to no transformation? So I think we need to consider, hear this, when we choose depth over display, we need to ask ourselves, where is refinement rather than expansion needed in my life? So before I focus on expanding, I need to focus on refining and choosing that depth over display. So thoughts on refining, everyone? Any thoughts on that, Carmela, when we think about the word refine?
Yeah. when I think about refine, I think about sharpening and sharpening what I already have, sharpening what matters. You were talking about depth. It's more important than display. I think it takes a lot of energy for display. Again, because really it's like, what are you trying to prove? But if you're taking the time to sharpen what you have and sharpen where you are, and you say you're looking at the distance of where you're going, you're looking at what you're building down the road, that makes difference in how you determine where your energy is going to be. And if you're making an impact right where you are by sharpening and refining yourself. So I think you're digging into, hey, this is how I can grow and I can add to what I have now, versus taking all of my energy trying to display more or prove more or do more. In a way that is just, like you said, you're doing more activity versus being productive.
Yeah.
I
And
agree.
in a culture that's addicted to the and is addicted to expansion, we sometimes spend less time on refinement.
Right.
And the display becomes the emphasis and expansion, and we want to expand without refining. That means this, folks, in a practical sense, this is not the time to just wing it.
That's right.
This is not the time to just wing it. This is the time to audit your clarity. Like do an audit of your reorder. Like, I'm going to do a reorder audit. I'm going to do a release audit. I'm going to do a realign audit, and I'm going to do a refine audit, because it's important that we look at our workflows, we look at our procedures, we look at how we make decisions, we look at our priorities, we look at our systems, our substructures or infrastructures. And I'm talking about our life. And then, of course, that if we get it in our life, that's going to flow into the work that we do, our business, our place of employment, our ideas that we want to iterate and implement. So, friends, I want to encourage you, T-timers, refine, choosing depth over display, looking at fruit and spending a time to measure that fruit, not just the noise and the chitter chatter that's out there, so that we can focus on refining ourselves rather than just expansion. All right. Let's see what's going on with the T-timers out here. All right. Depth over display. Audit your clarity. Yeah. Depth over display. You need to look at what's clear in your life and what's not clear. We need to think about auditing reorder audit. This needs to go here. All right. Not just be aware that it needs to go over there. I need to actually take it and move it over. That's called accountability. Awareness is recognizing it's there. Accountability is the behavior that actually implements that. But it starts with the first thing we talked about, which is reorder. And renewal, again, is about structure. It's not about speed. I know we want speed to market. I get that. But it's about structure first, so that we can be effective in our own lives. All right, here's our fifth renewal practice, the last one for this evening. Everybody, this is helpful. Let us know. The last one is remain, which is protect what matters. Let's put that in the comments. Remain. All right, which is protect what matters in your life. Now, this is about staying faithful and committed to the process. This is about, Carmela, this is about protecting focus. Now, when you think about remaining, protecting what matters, what comes to mind in your thoughts? What comes to mind?
Carving out the time that you are dedicated to that thing. You're carving out time to commit to that thing. And when you're dedicated to committing to that thing, you're going to protect your time. You're going to protect what you do. You're going to protect, down to the practical things of, I'm sitting down right now. This is my study time, or this is my time that I'm working on this, or this is the goal that I'm working on. And that means I may have to not be able to do that other thing that may seem like it's important to everyone else. But to me right now, I have to protect this particular thing at this particular time. What really matters in your life at that time is carving out the time for you, for that time, so you can remain focused on what you're doing. Other than that, you might, get a little sidetracked or get distracted, and then you might have to play catch up. And so, this is a good renewal practice to remain, to protect what really matters in this time. Like you were saying, and it's very true. This is not a time to wing it. This is a time of clarity and to be accurate, pretty much. Where am I going and what am I doing? So I got to remain in this vein right now, or be in this place of protecting where I am or what I need to do. Yeah.
It's not the time to wing it.
No, it's not.
When we think about remaining, I want us to think of this. I want us to identify one habit to release and watch what remains. Identify one that I can release and watch what remains. And then choose one boundary. Remember not eating any bread for a while. You'll see a result. Yeah, you hone in on things that you're gonna do differently, how you're gonna rest, how you're gonna hydrate.
Yes.
And then I also want us to consider to choose one boundary to establish. We have them, but I want us to think about, where do I need consistency instead of intensity? Because I don't think intensity's issue, it's consistency. Because people are intense many times about the wrong things. Because we're not focusing on or the previous things that we talked about. So think about this is many times when you're consistent behind the scenes, it looks quiet, it looks productive. It looks like before it becomes fruitful, because the emphasis is about protecting your focus, establishing perhaps a new boundary, or looking at one piece in order for me to be able to see what's in my life. So I think we need to ask ourselves some new, fresh questions about consistency and not necessarily intensity. And really thinking about ways we've overextended ourselves. What are your thoughts on that when you think about consistency or intensity?
I'm still kind of marinating in that. Because first of all, let's go to intensity. Sometimes it's not, it goes back to that sense of urgency, which sometimes is not. And you're on that little horse, like you were saying, you're on that little horse and you just ride and you're not going anywhere. But what are we really feeding? And what part of our vision, our own personal vision, are we feeding? Because if we do that, then that will do that with intentionality, and we won't be just riding a horse that we're not going anywhere. We really set the side of where we're going and how we're going, and look at all the nuts and bolts that goes into it. We'll be able to move accurately and in clarity, and that we don't have to be just ripping and running here and there, but we are really settled into what we're doing. And sometimes it's that word no, that anointed word no sometimes have to come into play, right?
Yeah, that's right. The word no. And what are we saying no to?
Right.
No to people, no to things, no to making sure we protect what matters. I also want us to be able to look at, in this season of renewal, and again, we started out by talking about what must be reordered. All right, what must be reordered, not necessarily what I will produce. I want to leave you all, T-timers, with a few thoughts concerning systems and structures that we can consider in renewal. So here's two things, and then I'm going to give you two core truths. All right, get this down. Busyness without systems is unsustainable.
Right.
Busyness without systems is unsustainable, and renewal without structure is temporary. So busyness without systems is unsustainable. Why am I not sustaining? Because I don't have a system. I'm busy, but I don't have a system. So that therefore I'm unsustainable. But my renewal in my life, if I don't have structure, it's just temporary. Who will feel better? But if I don't have a structure, and it's not about just confessing you have structure, you have to implement structure. It becomes, something you can duplicate, you can replicate. So renewal without structure, it becomes temporary. And sometimes we confuse, Carmela, effort with effectiveness. Effort alone can't produce renewal. Yeah. What sustains it is a system and a structure that supports that alignment over time. I saw you smile there. What you wanted to say? Go ahead.
Oh, my wheels are spinning because I was looking at both of these things. You said busy without systems. Okay, that means you have to have something to measure it with your progress. So if you don't have any systems, how can you measure your progress? And then you were talking about renewal. You're looking at our structure is temporary, but if you do have renewal, you have to build it so that it sustains. So it goes back to the systems again. How can you sustain what you're already doing? So if you're renewing, you're in a place of renewal. How can you build that to sustain it? So I was like, okay, my wheels were spinning there.
This is good. Thank you. So I want us to really focus on if we're going to really move in a season of renewal and reorder life, we want to think about systems. We want to think about structures. Something else I wrote down is the issue is not about our desire. The issue is with our design. It's not about desire as much as it is about design. You can't live an aligned life inside of a misaligned system. So the issue is not, well, I desire what things to change. I just desire it. Well, the issue is not your desire. It's your design or the lack of it. You're working hard, but you feel scattered. You start strong, but then you struggle to sustain the change. I'm going to do this. I react all day. I have no time for reflection. I'm spiritually committed, but I'm emotionally overwhelmed. Interesting. It's not about the desire at this point. It's about the design. Because what I do consistently reflects structure. What I occasionally do reflects motivation. Oh, here's Dad checking in. Let's see what Dr. Braun has to say here. Yes. Let's read this one.
Okay. Controls and standards are employed to ensure one stays in compliance. They cannot be ignored, but they are set in as red flags for one to check other systems. And that's coming from laboratory perspective. That's right, because Dad is a laboratory scientist, and that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
And yet, do we have controls and standards? If we have it for a specimen in a lab, isn't our life a specimen? Aren't we a wonderful creation? Shouldn't we look at controls and standards in our own lives and structures and systems in our own life? Or are we just winging it? This is not, everybody write in the comments, this is not the time to wing it.
It's not.
No. This is not the time to wing it. It can't be willy-nilly. All right? This is not the season. This is not the time for you to wing it. This is definitely a time to move beyond ambition, everybody, and move into alignment, move into being attentive. Before asking yourself, what am I going to produce? I need to ask myself, what must be reordered so I can focus on what's remaining and not just working hard, but I'm feeling scattered. And a lot of times we're scattered is because we don't have structure. This is not the time to wing it. It is not. All right. We want to look at what's clarity, look at what's not clear, and audit our order, audit our reorder. All right. You cannot live an aligned life inside a misaligned system. All right. Woof. Well, any thoughts, Carmela? Any last thoughts? Anything that you're considering that you? This is good. I hope this is helpful for folks. I'm really thinking things
this is good.
that I want to build on.
Yeah, this is right. This is right in the middle of where I am with restructuring. I mean, not just because of the new year, just knowing this, the new season that I'm in. And so this is just pulling out all of the things that I have been working on now. And I agree, it is not the time to just be floating, floating along. And, for me, I don't know where everyone else may be, but sometimes you kind of draw that fine line at this point. I have to do this. I have to tweak this. I have to make adjustments. I have to add and I have to subtract sometimes, so that I can maintain and actually be real about where I'm going. And so I think this is very good, because really this calls you to put parameters up so that you can achieve the goals that you have and maintain, like you were talking about. A lot of us, maybe we're on that place of, what is the best place of nutrition right now for my life? How am I supposed to eat? And if we don't set parameters on how we're supposed to eat, we'll just wing it. We'll just fall off. We'll do good. We'll have that renewal for a little bit. We'll hang in there. We'll see some changes for a little bit. But then what's going to help us maintain, that structure? And what systems have we built in so that we can maintain where we're going, or whatever we're working on, or whatever changes we're making in our lives right now? This is good.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm really reflecting on this. I want to bring up my image here. We'll post this on our Facebook page and Instagram. Reorder, release, realign, refine, and remain. These are the 5 core areas we want to focus on as we think about how do we plan and consider what we need to reorder starting there. And so hopefully this has been helpful for everyone. I wrote down something. I don't have a lot of time to put up another slide because that's the one I created, but I wanted to say what happens without systems and with systems. I'm just going to read this out. And I wrote out some things. And you like this, Carmela. You like this. Without systems, everything feels urgent. Without systems, decisions are made emotionally. And without systems, time gets stolen by interruptions. With systems, priorities are pre-decided, time is protected, and focus is repeatable. Without systems, you keep explaining your boundaries. You feel responsible for everything. Letting go feels personal. With systems, decisions are standardized, boundaries are baked in, and release becomes structural, not emotional. Without boundaries, you said this earlier, drift happens quietly. Without systems, alignment is discussed, but it's not practiced.
Right.
With systems, regular check-ins expose your drift, and your decisions are reviewed, and then your alignment becomes, and you said this earlier, measurable. Without systems, you keep chasing visibility, and then you expand before stabilizing, and noise replaces your fuel. But with systems, progress is honestly evaluated. Growth is at a pace, and depth over display becomes your goal. Without systems, burnout is inevitable. Your consistency will now depend on your mood. And with systems, your energy is managed, your habits are supported, and renewal is sustained. So I want us to, that's why it's important for us to have structure, to have systems, because whatever is remaining after our reorder, Carmela, is now reinforced. All right. All right, Tea Timers, you out there, let us know what your thoughts are. What are your takeaways? What are you thinking? What are you considering? What are you reconsidering? What's new? What will you do differently? We want to hear from you concerning what we shared this evening. And again, today was about renewal before results, reordering life, reordering time, and focus for the new year. All right. Thanks everybody for being on. Please let us know what your thoughts are. We'd love to hear your comments. We'd love to hear what it is that you're thinking, what you're considering. And Carmela, let's go into some announcements, and hopefully we'll get some comments coming in as well. So we'll kick things off here in our announcements.
Okay. We want to invite everyone to join us on Wednesday nights. We have been having an incredible Wednesday night Bible study and our focus on the Christology of spiritual formation. Please join us on Zoom every Wednesday at 7:30. It's going to be kicking off tomorrow night, and there is the Zoom ID and password. Please invite others to join us. You can pick up if you haven't been a part of the Bible study. This is a good time to start. We are learning more about Jesus Christ, who he is, and we definitely would love for you to come out and join in with us. On Friday, which will be kicking off January the 9th, we'll be having it on the second Fridays at 6:30 a.m. Make a note, this is a change. Second Fridays at 6:30 a.m. So the first one will be here this week, January the 9th at 6:30 a.m. And we definitely would love to invite you to come out and join us in a morning prayer. It's been a wonderful time of taking time to soak and hear what God is saying, and then also pray collectively with others. So this is a great time for you to join us for morning prayer. We look forward to seeing you this Friday. On Sunday, we had an incredible time live at our New You. We invite you to check our social media platform and our app to see our last message at Digital Discipleship, which is going to be every Sunday at 10 a.m. This is a Zoom password for New You. We invite you to come worship with us. Our app is available. As I said before, you can watch the messages. You can do whatever you need to do to find out what we're doing here at the Renewal Center. The mobile app has everything on it. And so we invite you to join us to download that mobile app. You can stay in touch with us, and you can stay in, I would say, up to date with a lot of the things that are going on at the Renewal Center. This is a great time to join in with our grief recovery. This is a great resource, which is why I said it's a great time to join in on this, because this resource is available to anyone that is needing a place to come and to talk about a loss or how you to navigate through that. We have individual group sessions, and we'll be offering our group sessions. There is the information below for you to find out more information. If this is you and you're suffering or you're involved with any type of loss, this is a resource that we offer here at the Renewal Center. Okay, if this has been a benefit to you tonight, we invite you to give to the Renewal Center. If you'd like to make a donation, or this has, Lord has moved on your heart to sow a seed tonight, this is an opportunity, and we have different ways that you can give here at the Renewal Center. So this is our digital giving options. If you are not on technology and you would like to mail your check, there is the address to the Renewal Center there at P.O. Box 1381, Concord, North Carolina, 28026. You can also use the mobile app to give also there. Thank you so much for your sowing your seed, and also for giving to the Renewal Center.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Carmela. And we've got a couple of comments coming in. Wow. Let's see here. Sharon says the parts will impact the whole. Check and refine my parts to better manage my systems. You want to share this one, Carl?
Yes. Dr. Paul Brown is saying protecting what matters. Very important. Very important. And then Nichelle, she's saying her takeaway is renewal without structure is just temporary. Yes. And then Renita's coming away. She's taken away with her, I need to self-exam to determine if I'm involved in quote unquote activity or productivity. Okay, thank you, Charlisha. She says excellent tea time, and her takeaway is cannot live in an aligned life with a misaligned system. Thank you. And thank you. And then found favor. Thank you so much, Pamela. She's saying business without systems cannot be successful. and is unsustainable. Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Plenty of
Thank
nuggets.
you.
You're welcome. You're
Makes
welcome.
sense.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Yes, it's good. Hopefully this has been helpful. Thanks everybody for being a part of our tea time. We'll see you again. We'll be back on the 4th Tuesday of this month. So please be on the lookout for our additional flyers. That'll be the 27th. So we'll be 1st and 4th. So we'll be back on the 4th Tuesday. We look forward to you being a part. And thanks everybody for your participation. Please look out for more announcements. Make sure you download the mobile app. And let's pause again. And I am Renewal. Thank you so much. Reset, build resilience, and we'll see you the next time. Carmela, thanks for being on.
Thank you. Thank you, Patrick.
All right, folks. Have a good evening. See you next time.